Power Hour here on Wake Up Call. Not one of, not a, but the fantasy football power hour that we have for you every single week during the season. Of course, talking fantasy football throughout the year as well. Happy to have you here on Wake Up Call, where sports truly meets that thing called life. The fantasy football power hour is proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub. You'll find the Wildcat by going to 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Head out there any day of the week, including on game day. And you know that game day when it comes to the NFL, it's been Thursday, it's been Friday this season. Sometimes we have Saturday, obviously Sunday and Monday. So that only leaves Tuesday and Wednesday, which you should come out anyways. Grab some wings, grab some pizza, get in the chicken Caesar wrap I absolutely love, and the fried dough, second to none in Central and Upstate New York. So head out to the Wildcat 7 days a week, including on game day, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. And for takeout and delivery, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat. That's 315-487-2222. You are watching and listening to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora all around the country and the world here on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So however you're connected with us, thank you so much for tuning in to the broadcast of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And you know that it is the fantasy football power hour, like I said, not one of, not a, but the fantasy football power hour that you need to be watching and listening to every single week right here, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub. So I hope you're having yourselves a wonderful day today, and we're going to get into your questions that you send over to us. So if you have a question about your team specifically, please make sure that you send it off to us here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Last week, we set a record with the amount of questions that were brought to us and answering those questions. So as you know, we get into every single game for the week. We talk about every game, every matchup, every single thing that's happening from Thursday through Sunday, all here in this broadcast. So if you have a question about your specific fantasy team, setting your lineup, a trade that's been proposed, waiver wire, free agency, who you should start and who you should sit, send those off to us, and I'm happy to answer them. So we're going to hop right into it here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in the first game that we have here as we are in NFL Week 3. Hard to believe that it's Week 3 already, but it is. And so it's just absolutely crazy to already be in this. But I tell people this all the time, myself included: enjoy the time that you have with fantasy. Enjoy the time that you have. So, because you never know how quickly this season can go by. And it seems like it comes into us. We waited so long for it, and then all of a sudden it's gone. So make sure that you're enjoying it while you got it here, and fully appreciate the fact that we can go from week 3 to week 11 like nothing, and I don't want to feel that go as fast, so let's enjoy it while we can. Thursday night football, New England at New York, the Jets. This is an in-conference, or an in-division game, I should say, and this game is going to be played Patriots-Jets inside of the AFC East. We've seen a lot of divisional matchups happen early on this season. I feel like in old schedules, you didn't really see these things as much. They let teams kind of figure out who they are and get into a groove, and then they would play conference games. But we're seeing divisional games happening so quickly and in the schedules that we've seen over the years. And I think it's great, right? Because these games you're playing early on in the season, I mean, you better have had a good offseason. You better know who the heck you are, because you're going to be tested inside of your division very early on in games. So I do like that we get to see this, but again, it involves a team having to be very much ready for the opportunity that's coming their way. So, New England at the Jets, having the chance to take a look at this game for you. It's the first game here. And for those of you that haven't watched the broadcast before, we welcome you in from wherever you are around the country and the world. For my returners, a welcome to the broadcast as well. I always circle what game we're on so you know exactly where we are in the broadcast in case you have to go back to a game or go forward to a game. I can show you where we are. So we start with Thursday Night Football, and I'm going to start on the Patriots side as we always do, road team first. So the New England Patriots, listen, Gerard Mayo, the head coach there, there's been some things that have happened in these first couple weeks. And the New England Patriots, they're 1-1. I mean, they defeated the Bengals. There was something that came up, though, that's the Bengals touchdown call that was, I want to go back here to this. It was the Mike Gesicki overturned. The Cincinnati Bengals suffered a loss against the New England Patriots in the first week of the season. Now, the league took a look at the play and deemed that it should have counted. And so Mike Gesicki caught what appeared to be a touchdown before halftime. That call was reversed, resulting in a significant shift. Shortly after, a fumble by Tanner Hudson allowed the Patriots to extend their lead from 7-0 to 10-0. And so we look at this here. Bengals were down 7-0 at halftime before the series of plays that included Gesicki's overturned touchdown. So they go down 10-0 instead of being tied 7-7. And despite the league's acknowledgement that Gesicki's touchdown should have counted, the Bengals still lose the game. So that's the issue here, is that, you know, it's almost like after the game you don't want the officials to say, like, hey, we made a mistake, because it doesn't change the outcome of the game. Them admitting that was wrong and it should have been 7-7 at halftime, arguably, between the Bengals and the Patriots, could have changed the outcome of everything. And to acknowledge it as a league after the fact, it's like, hey, just so you know, we made the wrong call. It should have been a touchdown. Well, that's all well and good. Are you going to give the victory to the Bengals and take it away from the Patriots? No. So the frustration becomes of, you know, you have to be able, and yes, we're human beings and we're going to have error, and I don't want robots going up and down the sideline making decisions for us, because robots are created by human beings, so they're still going to be flawed. And I also don't like the glitch in the system, and I don't like taking jobs away from people more than anything else. So, you know, I think, I mean, mistakes are going to be made. That is something that we all know and we understand. But when a mistake happens like this, and then after the fact we're talking about it, and it's like, oh yeah, just so you know, we made a mistake. We shouldn't have called this. We should have called it the other way. I mean, that's all well and good, but it could have changed the entire outcome of the game. And what if the Cincinnati Bengals don't get into the playoffs because they're a game behind? And we can go back to this game and say it's that. What if New England has a pretty good season, and this win that they have over Cincinnati in head-to-head games between them and other teams in the AFC East decides that they get into the postseason over another team? So you can't just shrug this off and say it's week one or it's just one game, because the reality of it all is this one game could affect everything when push comes to shove, when it comes down to the nitty-gritty of the end of the season, and we're trying to decide who gets in the postseason and what the seeding is in the postseason. So, you know, that's something that we have to look at. And, you know, saying that you made the wrong call, again, it's nice to have something, you know, spoken out into the open here and letting people know what went down and where we go from here. The sad part of it is, for the Cincinnati Bengals, is it doesn't change the outcome of the game. They still have to deal with the fact that they have to take a loss in this game, and it's not going to help them as they step forward, but it does help Gerard Mayo. It was his first career victory as a head coach in the NFL, and now, you know, it's marred a little bit by the fact that, I mean, at least I'm saying, I mean, I don't want it to take away from Gerard Mayo, but if I were him, I'd be like, okay, I got to win, but, you know, now the NFL is admitting that the officials made a mistake here, so it's just, I don't like any part of it. I feel like we got to get better at handling things in the moment. As far as who to play in this game, the New England Patriots, they're through a couple games this season. Like I said, they're 1-1, defeating the Bengals and then losing by 3 to the Seattle Seahawks at home in New England. And as far as Jacoby Brissett, how he's been doing, he's been all right. Antonio Gibson coming onto the team from the Commanders, him and Ramondre Stevenson have both gotten involved in the rushing attack. Gibson led the way last week, 11 carries, 96 yards, 8.7 yards a carry. I always thought coming from Memphis, yet another Memphis running back who found his way into the NFL and has had success. I thought that he would do more in Washington, but it just didn't work out. And now we're seeing early on that he's done some good things here in New England with Ramondre Stevenson, who had 81 yards and a touchdown. Ramondre's been doing a good job as far as getting on the ground and doing what he needs to do there. Hunter Henry had over 100 yards receiving from Jacoby Brissett in this past week. So, I mean, they're going up against the Jets, and the Jets' defense is obviously going to present some trouble to any team out there. So, I mean, Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson. I got Ramondre as a running back 2, and I have Antonio Gibson as a running back 3 or a flex guy for you. I don't have anybody in the receiving core. And as far as tight ends go, I have Hunter Henry as a tight end 2 this week because of the defense that he's going up against. So I'm going to put him in the world of tight end 2 as far as this week goes. But I would lean on the running backs. You're going to lean on anybody when it comes to this game. On the other side of it, I like Aaron Rodgers in the matchup. I got him as a mid-range quarterback 1. I like him because of the fact that, listen, he's playing the New England Patriots, and they're going to be playing this game at home. It is a Thursday night game, so you got to kind of think about it in the sense of, do you want to utilize something right off the bat, right? Utilize your quarterback right off the bat, because once he's gone, he's gone. In most leagues, you're not going to have the opportunity to play 2 quarterbacks. So I did get a question from George Play 01. George, I'll get to your question in a second. But I do like Aaron Rodgers in the game because it's New England. We have seen the defense step up. I have him as a mid-range quarterback 1 because the New England defense hasn't been too shabby, and it is a Thursday night. So if he busts or he doesn't get a lot of points, or maybe he gets 20-some-odd points and you got another guy that can get 30 to 40 points, if you got Joe Burrow and Aaron Rodgers, I'm kind of like, you know what I mean? I like his talent. He's obviously a talented guy. He's bounced back. He went into this past week's game. He had never lost 2 games in a row to start the season, never been 0-2, and he kept that record going in winning, helping his team win the game this past week on the road at Tennessee. So, I got him as a mid-range because New England's defense, I'm a little concerned with that for him. And at the same time, Thursday night, if he busts on a Thursday night, then, you're screwed out of a quarterback for the rest of the week. I like Breece Hall. I like Braylon Allen. I mean, a little surprising that they go and they draft that they go and find themselves a running back when they have Breece Hall coming back. So that kind of was a little bit of a head scratcher, but now they got a good young 1-2 punch. And hear what I said there. I didn't just say a good 1-2 punch. I said a good young 1-2 punch, that these guys could be part of building something over a long period of time, and there's not a lot of tread on the tires as far as their NFL experience. So that is a good thing for the New York Jets, who are the home team this week. So I'm going to go ahead and say Breece Hall. I'm going to have him as a mid-range RB1. Just a little bit. I mean, he's still an RB1, but I got him just moved down a little bit because Braylon Allen's getting some opportunities here, and at the same time, they're playing New England's defense. But I like Breece Hall to put out there. I like Braylon Allen in deep leagues. I also like Braylon in a really deep league. You can put him as a 2. In a league that's not as deep, maybe it's 8 to 12 teams, you can look at or 8 to 10 teams, you could put him as a running back 3. So I do like flexing him out. I do like what he's been able to do in the utilization of him by offensive coordinator Nate Hackett early on in the season. And shout out to Nate Hackett, a very good friend of mine. Garrett Wilson, I like him here as well. Mike Williams hasn't really shown me anything. He's not on the injury report for the first time in forever, so thank God for that. May he stay healthy throughout the season and actually be able to give to this team. Allen Lazard, I'm going to say him as a wide receiver 3. I'm going to say Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall are your plays. Aaron Rodgers is a mid-range quarterback 1, and Braylon Allen's a nice little jack of all trades. He's kind of that extra element. He could be an X factor, in so to speak, in this, in my opinion, because of the fact that this is a young, talented guy who Breece Hall can help him out. He can help Breece out. And recently here, the two of them in the backfield, just to give you their numbers, a week 2. Brees had 62 yards. Braylon Allen had 33 yards. They both had over 4 yards a carry. Braylon Allen had a touchdown and on the ground. Brees Hall had a touchdown through the air, and Braylon Allen also had a touchdown through the air. So between the two of them, they had 3 touchdowns. Braylon Allen, a reception touchdown and a rushing touchdown. So reception and rushing, and then Brees, reception touchdown. Brees ended up ending the game with 114 total yards of offense, and Braylon Allen ended the game with 56. And then PPR-wise, Brees caught 7 passes, Braylon caught 2. Braylon was targeted 4 times by Aaron Rodgers, and Brees was targeted 8 times out of the backfield. So I like them both. I like the X factor of Braylon Allen, like I said, and then I think Brees is definitely worth the play. I think Brees is one of those cut and paste guys that, each week you should really look at playing a guy like him. So I do see his value continuing here. CD Smitty, you got a question here as well, so I'm going to get to your question. By the way, for those of you watching around the country and the world, thank you so much for tuning into the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single Wednesday between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We always end up going over, so happy to be here with you for as long as we are here having this conversation. So if you have a question, please make sure that you send it in to us, and always happy to answer those questions. We got some that have come in, and we're going to get to them in just a minute here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So that's who I would play for the matchup that's going to be Thursday Night Football between the Patriots and the Jets at MetLife Stadium for the Jets. And to get to your questions here that have come in, first question, George Play 01. Hey man, someone dropped Keon Coleman in my league. Should I add him? My wide receivers are DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle. I'm going to guess that's Jamison Williams, Zay Flowers, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, and Brian Thomas Jr. Well, first and foremost, I like your draft, George, so congratulations to the guys that you have. Should you add him? Well, here's the question. George, you got to let me know this so that I can answer this. Do you have to drop anybody? Can you simply add Coleman, or do you have to drop someone? So, that's going to help me answer your question here, because I don't want you letting go of any of the guys that you got. And then CD Smitty said, Kyron Williams or J.K. Dobbins for the rest of the season. That's a difficult question, man, because the reality of it all is, what if a guy gets hurt? What if I tell you go this way, and then that guy goes down this week or 3 weeks from now? So it's hard to pick somebody for the entire rest of the season. If you want me to, CD Smitty, to answer your question to the best of my ability here, I don't want to put I don't want to say, yeah, definitely go with this guy for the rest of the year. If I had to pick today, it's J.K. Dobbins, but let's remember something. J.K. Dobbins has gotten hurt. I'm hoping that he doesn't. I'm hoping he stays healthy, but J.K. Dobbins has been a guy who has consistently gotten injured from season to season. So, I want to tell you that if I had to put my feet to the fire right now, that I would pick J.K. Dobbins, but I also have to remember the fact that J.K. Dobbins is not a guy. Look at the fact of Gus Edwards, right? They don't trust in Gus, and then all of a sudden they have to trust in Gus almost every single year that J.K. Dobbins and Gus have been together in Baltimore. They had to lean on Gus at some point because J.K. Dobbins didn't stay healthy. So I don't want to just simply blanket something and tell you, like, absolutely, Smitty, you got to go in this way. I would say, it's definitely hard, and I'm answering your question here as well in writing. It's definitely hard to pick someone for the entire rest of the season, but I like Dobbins more. Like right now, I like Dobbins more in this moment. So Smitty said, if you could trade one of them for Jamar Chase, which one would you trade? Between J.K. Dobbins and Kyron Williams? between the two of them. Here's my concern. Okay, my concern again is J.K. Dobbins' health. But here's the other side of it. Speaking of health, Kyron Williams is on what team? The Rams. And what team doesn't have Puka Nacua? The Rams. And doesn't have Cooper Kupp? The Rams. And so you can stack the box, and they're severely depleted at wide receiver. So, Smitty, if it was up to me, I would say right now, in this moment, trade Kyron for Jamar Chase. Like, if someone's going to be dumb enough to give you Jamar Chase, then I would do Kyron Williams right now because of the state of the offense of the Rams. Thank you for the question. Sergio said, do I drop Zeke for Jalen Wright? The thing about this, and I appreciate the question, Sergio, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. So make sure to subscribe while you're watching and listening, and I appreciate y'all. So for those of you that have subscribed, thank you for that, but make sure to subscribe. Sergio, here's the thing, and again, we talk about situational things with teams. When it comes to the Miami Dolphins, what have they been known for in recent history? Using multiple running backs. Okay? So Raheem Mostert is, he's been on the injury report. Now, Devon Achane, he's been out there, right? He's done a lot of good things. The question was he going to play this past week? I told you if he was going to play, then you put him out there, and he had over 100 yards there. Now, he is healthy, right? So Raheem Mostert is questionable. This is the thing, and Jeff Wilson is on the injury report as well. So when we look at the Dallas Cowboys, Zeke is their one. It's not Rico Dowdle. It's Zeke. So with Zeke being their number one guy, has he had a terrific start to the season? No. Was I overall wowed by the fact that the Dallas Cowboys went back to take a guy who they let go, a guy who they, didn't want a long-term contract with, but now they got him back again? I mean, Zeke Elliott, listen, the Dallas Cowboys had a terrible game. But I still think he's going to be utilized. Jalen Wright, you're taking a flyer, man. You might have a good week or two with him, Sergio, but there's no guarantee that he's going to be the guy. And Devon Achane is the guy. So if it's between, do I tell you to give up a starter for a guy who could be third or fourth string? No. So Sergio, I would keep Zeke over going and getting Jalen Wright, because I think Jalen Wright's going to be short-lived because Achane's the guy. Logan asked a question here. I traded James Conner for Sam Laporta in non-PPR. I can't decide if I won or not. Well, I mean, time's going to tell. Here's the thing, Logan. The problem that you run into is that you traded a running back who can be handed the ball to a guy who they have to find in the open field, and the timing has to be down, and the route running has to be down, and the hands have to be there. So you traded away a guy who's easier to get the ball to. That's the issue. So trading away a running back for a tight end changes how easy the ball gets there. But Laporta is special. I mean, he is special. And again, when we talk about injuries, James Conner, unfortunately, is a guy that we've seen get injured. So Sergio said, do I get rid of Chase Brown for Wright? It sounds like you really want Jalen Wright, Sergio. I'm telling you again, Achane is the starter. Achane is the starter. Chase Brown is the starter. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, there's Zach Moss and Chase Brown, and they're trying to figure things out. But Achane is the starter. So if Jalen Wright gets involved, it could be sparingly. And let's say Achane's doing his thing and he's the starter, and then Raheem Mostert comes back. Now Jalen Wright's behind the two of them. Let's say Jeff Wilson comes back. Now he's behind maybe the three of them. So if he's the fourth option or the third option, getting him to give up a second option or a first option just is not the thing to do. So, Sergio, I would say it sounds like you really want Jalen Wright, but you have to firmly understand the fact that he's not only behind a running back, he's behind one of the best fantasy running backs to start the season in Devon Achane. Now, he said, Achane gets hurt a lot. I just want to get a player like Jordan Mason. Here's the thing, though. Achane was on the injury report and did what? Had over 100 yards. So, I know you want to get a guy like Jordan Mason, and I appreciate your honesty with that. You're trying to find the next diamond in the rough. But in order to find the next diamond in the rough, you could find yourself in a lot of, mines, just like hitting away at those mines and getting really sweaty and getting really tired and getting really aggravated. So I completely understand the fact that you're trying to find a diamond. I'm trying to keep you from your muscles fatiguing here looking for one. So he's like, that's why I got Benson, Bucky, and Brown. So, okay. So, yeah, I mean, listen, I would say hang out with, who are your starting guys, Sergio? Send me who your starters are, because I'm interested in that. But send me who your starters are going at running back. And then Logan, I mean, time's going to tell, man. Time's going to tell. James Conner's a really good player, and he doesn't get the credit that he deserves, and I've said that for years because I covered him in college. So, he's a really good player. I don't think the Steelers should have let him go. I don't think he would have cost that much to the Steelers. So, I wasn't for them getting rid of him in the first place, and they did. And he goes over to Arizona. Listen, Arizona showed this past week what their offense can do, because their offense should be doing that every single week. Okay, you have Kyler Murray, who's a talented guy, who's scrappy and can run around the field and can get the ball down the field. You got Marvin Harrison Jr. You have Trey McBride. You have James Conner. You have all of this talent. You should be able to have success with the talent. And, Kyler's got to stay healthy. He's got to stay on the field, God bless and God willing. And that's going to be a huge part of it. So, but they should be able to do that. And so I like James Conner. I like James Conner. I have liked James Conner, and I liked him before he played it down in the NFL. The question becomes, was it good for you to get rid of him to go and get Sam Laporta? And Sam Laporta is one of the best tight ends in the league. It could be top 1, top 2, definitely top 3. And Jared Goff and that offense is going. And like I said last week, if there's a team that plays like the personality of their coach, it's the Detroit Lions with Dan Campbell. So I like Sam Laporta very, very much so, and I think you're going to be okay, man. I think you're definitely going to be okay with that. So I'm all about that. I'm all about that. And yeah, so I mean, I think it's going to be okay. I understand your concern, but I think you're going to be okay. Logan said, I got Kyler off waivers somehow in a 12-man. So, okay. So you got Kyler Murray on waivers, which makes no sense to me how that happened, but that's really good for you, man. I also got Jordan Mason. That was the main reason I traded James Conner. Right, and you got Jordan Mason for multiple weeks now. God willing, CMC comes back and he's healthy and he's well. Again, I don't want this to feel like it did when he was in Carolina. Number 1 fantasy running back, great player, highly touted, good for Carolina's offense, and of course good for fantasy football. Then he gets injured, then he gets injured again, then he goes to San Fran. He resurrects his career. He scores multiple touchdowns in his debut with the San Francisco 49ers. He goes to a Super Bowl with this team, and now here he is hurt again. So I'm hoping that doesn't stick. But Logan, good for you for getting Jordan Mason and getting Kyler Murray off of waivers. I think you're going to be okay. Now, Sergio said, okay, let's see here. Quarterback for Sergio, Lamar, and you have Chris Olave, Terry McLaurin. Okay, good stuff. Bijan Robinson, like it. Dalton Kincaid, good. Travis Etienne, awesome. Xavier Worthy, true flex. Nothing wrong with that. And then kicker is Jake Elliott. Bucks defense, Chase Brown, Trey Benson, Braylon Allen, Derek Carr is your backup quarterback. And then you have Bucky Irving, Ezekiel Elliott, and you got the Bears defense. So, yeah, I mean, Sergio, I like it, man. I think you should hang out with what you got. I think it's good stuff, man. There's no, you got a really good team. You got Lamar and Derek Carr at quarterback. You got Olave. You got Terry McLaurin. You got Beige as your number one running back, and I mean, there's Braylon Allen. He's got a good striking thing here. So you said you're looking for the next diamond in the rough, and I think that arguably you might have a couple guys in this team that turn out to be that, like a Trey Benson, like a Chase Brown, if he starts to turn on here, or maybe even Zeke Elliott. So I'm not against what you did, man. I think early on in the season, and again, I appreciate your honesty. There's people that are just like desperately looking to like be that smart guy or gal that's out there that's like, haha, I got to this person before you did. But, sometimes you have a good team and you hang with the team that you got, right? I mean, you want to be smart. You're trying to find that sleeper. Every year I try to pull in a sleeper or two, and I know who I want going into the draft. I wanted Marvin Harrison in all 4 leagues that I'm in. The 2 Central New York leagues, our second home of Florida, and my Marywood Alumni League. I wanted Marvin Harrison in every single one of them. I didn't get Marvin in the first 3 because what the draft was giving me. One of the drafts was giving me, there was just running back after running back that was out there. And I was like, if you're going to leave all these running backs out there for me, I'm going to take them. And so I had originally going to, obviously I was going to go running back, wide receiver, back and forth between these two, either running back, wide receiver, running back, or whatever, that was presented there in the draft itself. But because they left so many running backs out there for me, I went heavy on running backs because I didn't anticipate that they were going to be there. And once they were there, I was like, okay, well, shoot, if you're going to leave these guys here for me, I'm going to take them. And so I didn't get Marvin Harrison. But in the last draft that I had, I was surprised of all the people that I drafted, and Marvin Harrison was still there. So I think I got him in the 3rd round. And, arguably he's the number 1 guy out there. Trey McBride could, kind of maybe argue with that, even though he's a tight end. But Marvin Harrison showed up in week 2, and people were freaking out in week 1. And should I get rid of him? Should I drop him? And all this stuff. And it's like, no, I mean, the dude is a true freshman in the NFL. He's playing his first NFL game ever. I mean, I think people get nervous too quick in fantasy. And then at the same point, I think sometimes people hold on too long to a player that you should have let go of. So, it's sometimes it's one way and sometimes it's the other extreme. But the reality of it all is sometimes it's okay to just hang tough with what you got. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. So to get into this before we get into the next game here, Sergio said maybe drop Brown for Wright, though not sure. Again, Sergio, Chase, Zach Moss didn't do much of anything in Buffalo. And now he's doing some things in Cincinnati. But Chase Brown is a guy that they drafted, that they brought in to be their future, from my perspective. And I'm not going to throw him in the trash yet. I shouldn't say I'm not going to throw him in the trash, because I would never throw anybody in the trash. I'm not going to throw him out yet. Okay? He's had 7 carries in 2 games. 42 yards, right? He hasn't done much. He's caught a couple passes. He's been quiet. Zach Moss has been the lead back. But Jalen Wright, you gotta tell me who else is out there, because the other part of this too is Jalen Wright, again, is the 3rd or 4th string running back. So, Sergio, tell me who else is available in free agency, and maybe we can argue a Chase Brown thing there if there's somebody that I like more than Jalen Wright that's available. With that being said, we're going to go on. We've only done Thursday Night Football because I've been answering your questions, which I love getting your questions, so keep sending them over. Very much appreciate them. Thank you so much for that. So let's get into the next one here. We're going to go to Giants at Browns. The Giants have been absolutely atrocious this season to start off the season. I told you before the season began that one of my predictions of the many predictions I have for this season for the NFL. One of my predictions is that we will see former Syracuse quarterback, who I know him, interviewed him, also know his father, Tom Sr., and his mother, Lexi, is that Tommy DeVito will start at least one game for the New York Giants this year. The way that this team has started off the season, it might be more than one game. And I was thinking when I made the prediction of one game that I was undercutting there and going, oh, he's going to start one. I know Drew Lock is there as well, but I think that Tommy DeVito is, the way that things are going, he'll be out there at some point. I predicted it going into the season, and it's looking better. Unfortunately, the Giants are not moving the ball with Daniel Jones. Fortunately, they got Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito to maybe help them out here. As far as the Giants go at the Cleveland Browns, Cleveland's got a good defense, and so that concerns me with a New York Giants team that really hasn't been that great. And they lost a close one, 21-18, to the Washington Commanders, who were just relying on their kicker to take over the entire game. Daniel Jones had 2 touchdowns in the game, 16-28, 178 yards, no interceptions. Devin Singletary, 16 carries, 95 yards, 5.9 yards a carry, and a touchdown. Daniel Jones ran 5 times, 32 yards, 6.4 yards a carry. Malik Neighbors had 10 catches. He was targeted 18 times by Daniel Jones, 127 yards, and a touchdown. Daniel Jones only threw to 4 guys. Malik Neighbors, the whole game, 4 guys in 4 quarters. That's nuts. Malik Neighbors, Darius Slayton, Wendell Robinson, and Devin Singletary out of the backfield. Wendell Robinson had the other touchdown. 1 touchdown on 2 catches, 4 targets. Slayton caught 3 of the 4 balls thrown his way. So, I mean, they're playing arguably, obviously, a better defense with Cleveland. So, if I'm going to put somebody out there, Singletary, in a deep league, I'll call him a running back 2. In other leagues, I'll call him a running back 3. I'm not completely sold on him yet. So, I'm going to say low-end running back 2. He could be a higher, I'll say running back 2 for Devin Singletary in a deep league, but I hope you can flex him out and have other guys to put out there. Malik Neighbors, I have him as a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3 for this week. I don't have anybody else for the Giants. On Cleveland's side of it, Deshaun Watson, I mean, dude's got to, I mean, this team's got to figure out, again, Arizona, really talented team, right? But why couldn't they move the ball at times? Really talented team. How are you not moving the ball? In the case of the Cleveland Browns, really talented team. How are you not moving the ball? They went to Jacksonville. They won a game 18-13. What is it? What is up? So this is the crazy thing. The Giants scored 18 points in week 2 and they lost. The Browns scored 18 points in week 2 and they won. And now those 2 teams that scored 18 are playing each other in Cleveland in week 3. Deshaun Watson in the win over Jacksonville on the road, Jacksonville's first home game of the season. Deshaun went 22-34, 186 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Jerome Ford, 7 carries, 64 yards. Should have given him the ball more. Deontay Foreman had the ball twice as much and did less with it. 14 carries, 42 yards. Jerome had 9.1 yards a carry. Deontay Foreman had 3 yards a carry. Somehow Jerome got the ball less. Deshaun Watson had a rushing touchdown, and he had 5 carries for 20 yards, 4 yards a carry. Jerry Jeudy, who's in his first season as a Cleveland Brown, he had 5 catches on 6 targets, 73 yards. Elijah Moore, who was drafted by the Jets, 8 targets, 6 catches, 44 yards, and nobody had a receiving touchdown. He threw to multiple receivers. Amari Cooper, 8 targets, 3 catches, 11 yards. Very dismal for the guy that I can't understand why Dallas let him go when he was under, I believe, a 5-year contract. So, I mean, for the Browns, they're at home and they're playing the Giants. So I have Deshaun Watson as a low-end QB1, high-end QB2 because of the matchup. Jerome Ford, I have him as a starter, obviously, to put out there in this game. Again, Deontay Foreman getting twice as many carries and getting not even half the amount of yards that Jerome Ford got. That doesn't make sense to me. Hopefully they'll give the ball more to Jerome Ford in this game and catch him out of the backfield too. No offense to Deontay Foreman. Just, I mean, the expectation is that Jerome Ford's going to be the guy, and he really wasn't the guy in this last game. As far as receivers go, I'm going to say they're against the Giants. So I'm going to say Jerry Jeudy is a sneaky flex, maybe Elijah Moore as a wide receiver 4. I would say Jerry Jeudy and Amari Cooper as wide receiver 3s to throw out there on your team. But the guy to start is Jerome Ford. And then, like I said, low end 1, high end 2 for Deshaun Watson because of the matchup that we have going on. If you have a question, make sure you send it in. We did get some questions coming in here. So to those of you that just started asking questions, make sure to subscribe while you're here on the channel. And I appreciate it to everybody that has subscribed. Once again, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt. On X, you'll find us at CallDT, that's CALLDT, and on Instagram at wakeupcall_DT. And of course on Podbean, wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So make sure you check us out there and subscribe to all those. Those channels are free. And Podbean is our internet streaming all over the world. So when it comes to internet radio, Sergio didn't send me a new one, so that's the one we read. Tony said, should I drop Tajay Spears for, is that LaMichael Pirine or is that Samaje, or Pirine, pardon me. Is that LaMichael Pirine or Samaje Pirine, Tony? So make sure you send me over which Pirine that is. And so he said, should I drop Tajay Spears for Pirine, Dante Foreman, Dowdle, Jaleel McLaughlin, Ty Chandler, or Braylon Allen? If I had to choose amongst all those, and here's the thing, the fear early on, right? The fear early on about the Tajay situation with Tony Pollard. Tony, if it was up to me, if I was with what you gave me, if I was going to drop Tajay, and again, I don't necessarily know if you should drop Tajay, but I'm not necessarily sold on Tennessee's offense, and I was one of the only people that I know of in the country that predicted that Will Levis would not be a first-round draft pick because I just wasn't sold on. I wasn't sold on him. A lot of people had him going in the first round. I did not in my mock draft. So if I was going to drop Spears of the list you gave me, Tony, I would go Braylon Allen. Just because Braylon Allen, I think, is going to be utilized here. And I know Nate Hackett, he's a smart man. Sebastian said, trade Devontae Adams for J.K. Dobbins and... Trade Devontae Adams and J.K. Dobbins for Bijan? No, Sebastian. No. No. Don't give up. Like, Bijan is good. But don't give up 2 starters for 1 in that scenario. I don't like that. So, no, hold on to what you got there. Don't be giving that up. We're going to go into our next matchup here inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. You could go there on game day, and of course you go there all throughout the week, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. And if you want to go there for takeout and delivery and you want to watch the game at home or at your buddy's house or wherever you may be or with the girls, you can go there for takeout and delivery. All you have to do to order from the Wildcat and make sure you get some fried dough for dessert is call 315-487-2222. That's 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat. Chicago Bears at the Indianapolis Colts. This is a rematch of a Super Bowl of Rex Grossman and Peyton Manning. How about it? The Chicago Bears, they haven't looked terrible with Caleb Williams. What did look terrible is C.J. Stroud trying to give him advice and Caleb Williams looking like he just wanted to leave. Now, I'm not Caleb. I'm not in his head. I'm not going to try and paint a bad picture of him. I didn't like the optics of it, but who knows what he was thinking. Maybe he was thinking, I just want to get in the locker room and talk to my team. Maybe he's thinking, I don't want to hear from you because we just lost from you and I'm a sore loser. Whatever he was thinking, hopefully Caleb Williams, because again, and the reason why it concerns me is that Caleb Williams has raw talent, and at the same time, he concerns me because of other things. I'm a little concerned. I'm just kind of like waiting, leadership-wise, character-wise. I'm waiting to see what type of leader Caleb Williams is. And he's so young in his career, and so it's going to take some time to find that out. But when you're the quarterback of a team, yeah, you get the money typically, and yeah, you get the accolades, but you also get blamed first, and you're also the person that's expected to be a leader on the team. So guys that are all about themselves at quarterback, Johnny Manziel, it doesn't work out. So we're going to see where Caleb Williams is, and I hope that for his sake and the Bears' sake, that he's a good leader. I am not anointing him as the next best great thing. Jaden Daniels is the quarterback of the rookie class of 2024 that I think is going to have the best season, and I also think Bo Nix is going to have a good season. That was my sleeper. That was a lot of people aren't saying this, right? I promoted Lamar Jackson when he was a rookie. I spoke about Mark Sanchez and talked about how good I thought he was going to be. I believe I said the same thing about Joe Flacco. So, I backed a lot of guys that maybe were not popular picks at the time, and it ended up working out. Last year, I was totally wrong. Last year, I couldn't find a quarterback that I liked. I didn't like Bryce Young. I was never sold on Bryce Young. I literally said he was going to be the number one overall pick because that's what I saw Carolina doing, but I didn't think he should be. Like I said, I was like, I'm going to put him in my mock draft as the number one pick, but this is not who I would pick. This is who I think Carolina is going to pick, because my mock draft is to look at each team and tell you who I think they're going to go with. And I told you repeatedly that I wasn't sold on him at all, but I wasn't sold on anybody, and CJ Stroud ended up showing up. So I can't say that I was wrong, because I didn't say CJ Stroud was going to be terrible. I just didn't say anything. And, CJ ended up showing up. So congratulations to him for that. Daniel, I'm going to get to your questions here in a second. But Chicago at Indianapolis, listen, Indianapolis had a great opportunity, I thought, to score a lot of fantasy points on the road at Green Bay without Jordan Love being their quarterback. And God willing, he'll be back soon. This was just an awful game. And that's why there's no sure thing in sports. So, DeAndre Swift, Travis Homer, I covered him in college. I covered his team in college in Miami. I'm excited that Travis Homer is getting some opportunities, but I'm sure that frustrates the people that drafted DeAndre Swift. I saw your questions that came in, so I'll get to those in a second. The Chicago Bears didn't have a terrible game against Houston on Sunday Night Football. It wasn't a great game. It wasn't a terrible game. It wasn't a great game. And C.J. Stroud once again showed in his young career as a sophomore in the NFL that he can gut out a win with his teammates. Rome Odunze, 5 targets, 2 catches, 33 yards. DJ Moore, 10 targets, 6 catches, 53 yards. Nobody caught a touchdown pass from Caleb Williams. Khalil Herbert, 2 carries, 3 yards, 1.5 yards a carry, and a rushing touchdown. That's disgusting. DeAndre Swift, 14 carries, 18 yards, 1.3 yards a carry. Caleb Williams, 5 carries, 44 yards. So, here's the thing. When you have a running quarterback and a guy that can move, Caleb Williams becomes, does he help the team or does he hurt the team? That was a question when Lamar Jackson came into the NFL. The guy can run. He's going to help the team or hurt the team. Kyler Murray is going to help the team, going to hurt the team. So, I'm not sold on DeAndre Swift. I'm not sold on Caleb Williams. If you want to put a wide receiver out there in this game, I'd say DJ Moore at wide receiver. Keenan Allen, unfortunately, is on the injury report again in his career. He's questionable with a heel injury. Hopefully, he'll be okay. Rome Odunze in a deep league, a wide receiver 4. DJ Moore, I'd put him in, you're too deep. They're playing Indy, and Indy has proven that, again, I thought they had a great opportunity to go on the road and get a victory and go up against Green Bay in Green Bay, Wisconsin, before it gets really cold outside, and they don't have Jordan Love in the backfield there for them, so he's not the guy under center. I thought they'd do good. They only scored 10 points. Anthony Richardson had 3 interceptions in the game. Jonathan Taylor had a great game, though. 12 carries, 103 yards, 8.6 yards a carry. Shout out to him. Alec Pierce covered Cincinnati, and obviously he was out there at Cincinnati. He's had himself a nice start to the season. 7 targets, 5 catches, both led the team. 56 yards, led the team. And the only touchdown that Anthony Richardson threw was to Alec Pierce. Jonathan Taylor got 32 yards out of the backfield as well. So there's some good to be had there. Michael Pittman, 7 targets, 3 catches, 21 yards. That's been awful. So, on Indy's side, Jonathan Taylor is the play. Alec Pierce, I got him as a flex wide receiver for you. I'm not going to tell you to rely on him as your top two, but he's still worth putting out there over Michael Pittman. And Michael Pittman's a guy that I might leave off this week. I mean, I got Alec Pierce above him. So I would say this week, feet to the fire, I got him as a wide receiver 4 if you're going to put 4 guys out there. Daniel Cap said, would you trade Achane and Amon-Ra St. Brown for Jonathan Taylor, Marvin Harrison Jr., and DK Metcalf? When I first read this question, Daniel, I was like, no. Amon-Ra and Achane for who? But then I'm looking at it. That's tough, man. Your other running backs are Ramondre Stevenson, Jordan Mason, Rachaad White, Tony Pollard, and Monty here. Your quarterback is Kyler Murray. So, you know what, Daniel? Trading away those 2 guys, initially looking at it, I would say no. But looking at what you have and looking at the fact that you're going to get 2 wide receivers back and Jonathan Taylor, I would make the trade. So, make the trade. And to those that just jumped on our channels, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. So for those of you on YouTube, subscribe. Facebook.com/wakeupcalldt. And on Podbean, internet streaming radio, wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. Eric's question that came in here. Eric said, James Cook and Amari Cooper for Malik Neighbors and Rachaad White. Who wins? Well, here's the thing. James Cook is in a better offense than Malik Neighbors. Rachaad White is in a pretty good offense. I don't like Amari Cooper in the situation with Cleveland. I feel like Cleveland is where some receivers go to die. So, which side of this are you on? Because that's going to affect my answer. Which side of the trade are you on? Speaking to Eric here, who's on our feed. And if you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe here. So, tell me which side of the trade you're on, Eric. Daniel said, my wide receivers, I have Puka, Terry McLaurin, Khalil Shakir, and Robinson. Thanks. It was a tough decision, but I have so many running backs. LOL. Thanks for the advice. Yeah, man. Happy to help. No, I think it's good. I mean, listen, Daniel, and make sure to subscribe while you're here because us Dan's got to stick together. Devon Achane and Amon-Ra St. Brown, again, I like them both a lot. But looking at the rest of your team and looking at you getting Marvin Harrison Jr., you have Kyler Murray as your quarterback. You have Jonathan. You're going to bring in Jonathan Taylor and DK Metcalf. I mean, that's all good stuff there. Thank you, Daniel, for subscribing. I appreciate it, man. Eric said, I'm trading away James Cook and Amari Cooper. I'm in need of wide receivers. So, I want to know what wide receivers you have, Eric. Send those over to me. What wide receivers do you have? And again, always happy to answer your questions. You guys are awesome here. And yeah, Daniel, I was thinking the same thing you were thinking. To go back to Sergio, who wanted to bring in Jalen Wright, but Achane is the starter. Daniel said, I'm concerned with Achane's health. I get that. He's also really good. I mean, listen, I would not have told you, Daniel, to get rid of Achane and Amon-Ra St. Brown if not for the specific opportunity that you had that you just sent over to me. It was the one that you sent over. That's why I always tell people, give me all the information you possibly can because that's going to affect my decision here. Because if you just said to me, should I get rid of Achane and Amon-Ra St. Brown, I would have said no. But, you gave me the information about what you would be getting. So in your specific case, Daniel, it makes sense. Now, Houston at Minnesota. Let's go to Houston at Minnesota. Yeah. Achane's he's a hell of a player, man. He is a hell of a player. and I want him to stay healthy because I think he's a guy that could have a 2,000-yard season if he stays healthy. So, also looking at the fact that Tua is down, right? So, I mean, that could be good with a guy coming in and wanting to run the ball a lot. That could be really good for HN. At the same time, it's more wear and tear. So HN's got to be able to handle the carries. But then you look at the fact of what if Miami becomes one-dimensional and they stack the box? Because remember, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle did not have a good night when Tua went out. So sometimes it's, when the starting quarterback's gone, it's really, really good for the running back. And sometimes it's really, really bad. And sometimes it just depends on the defense that you're playing. So Houston at Minnesota. Let's go to this game here. I like both of these teams. Really excited about both of these teams, what they can do in reality and in fantasy this year. So CJ Stroud play. Joe Mixon, he's got an ankle injury. He's questionable. Dameon Pierce is questionable with a hamstring injury, which could mean that we see Cam Akers out there for Houston. I think they're going to be tossing it through the air more. So I'm not really concerned about, I'm concerned I want these guys to get healthy. But I don't think that not necessarily having a rushing attack is going to stop Houston's ability to move the ball because you have CJ Stroud. So in this matchup, I'm going to go with obviously playing CJ Stroud. He's a guy that you put out there. And I know that the game might have looked ugly against Chicago, but, I still think CJ is a hell of a talent and hard to keep off the field. So I do like him. I'm going to get to Minnesota here in a second. But looking at Houston by the numbers in that 19-13 win at home on Sunday Night Football against Chicago, Houston's 2-0. Cam Akers, 7 carries, 32 yards, 4.6 yards a carry. Joe Mixon, 9 carries, 25 yards, 2.8 yards a carry. Tank Dell, the wide receiver, 3 carries for 16 yards, 5.3 yards a carry. Nico Collins, 8 catches, 10 targets. Both led the team. 135 yards, led the team. Touchdown. People said, is Stephon Diggs going to take away from these guys? Tank Dell didn't get anything going, but Nico Collins definitely did. Nico Collins has been a blessing that a lot of people probably didn't have circled when he got drafted. But I like C.J. Stroud in the game. I like Nico Collins in the game. I got Nico as a wide receiver too. I have Stephon Diggs as a 3. I have Tank Dell as a 3 as well. On the other side of it for Minnesota, Sam Darnold to start off the season. Here's a guy we talk about, Jets quarterbacks and, guys that didn't work out. Sam Darnold, he gets sent over to Carolina. Then he finds his way to Minnesota. And J.J. McCarthy, even if J.J. was healthy, which God willing, he's going to rehab and be 100% ready to go. Very excited. I just got my J.J. McCarthy rookie auto card that's got a grade of 10 out of 10 as far as the autograph and a 9.5 overall as the card. So very excited that I got that elements of the game auto. And J.J. McCarthy, not all of them, but some of his autographs he signs with a smiley face. And I got one of the smiley face ones. So really excited to have that and bring that to trade night at GG Cards and Breaks this week on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, this Thursday, September 19th from 6:30 to 9:30. We look forward to seeing you out there. Sam Darnold, he was going to be the guy whether or not JJ was healthy from what it looked like. And so, 17 to 26, 268 yards, a win at home over San Francisco, who I think is a Super Bowl caliber team. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, carried the ball 5 times, 32 yards, 6.4 yards a carry. Good stuff here. Justin Jefferson had 133 yards, 4 catches, 7 targets, had a touchdown. Jalen Naylor, young guy, he had a touchdown as well. 3 receptions on 4 targets. Aaron Jones got 5 catches out of the backfield of 6 targets. And Jalen Naylor, like I said, young in the game, a 6th-round pick by Minnesota, 191 overall in 2022 out of Michigan State. So, and he's been involved in the offense the first couple weeks here. So I like Minnesota. I like Sam Darnold. I'm going to put him a little bit lower here. I do think he's a good caliber, but I'm going to put him as a quarterback 2 they're at home and they're playing Houston. They just played San Fran and beat them. So I'm going to put him as I'm going to put CJ Stroud as a definitely play QB1. I'm going to put Sam Darnold. A little bit behind him is mid-range QB1, just because he's shown some good numbers. I like Aaron Jones to play in this game. Justin Jefferson, he's got a quad injury. If he's able to go, I put him out there. An ankle injury to Jordan Addison. If he's able to go, then I would look at putting him out as a wide receiver 3. If not, then Jalen Naylor as a wide receiver 3. But I do think this is going to be a really good game. I think Sam Darnold's going to put up some good numbers. I think C.J. Stroud's going to put up some good numbers. I think these guys have proven they can play good teams, or they can play a team down the stretch and gut out a win. I mean, you look at the back and forth game that Houston had with Indianapolis, and then gutting out the win on Sunday Night Football against Chicago. And then you look at what Minnesota was able to do in their game at home against San Francisco after coming off of a victory over the Giants, where they scored almost 30 and held the Giants to 6 points. So, I do like both quarterbacks, and I like Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell a little bit less, but I do like Nico, and I do mention those guys as wide receiver 3s behind him, and then Aaron Jones and Justin Jefferson if he's able to go, Jordan Addison and Jalen Naylor as flex guys, Sam Darnold at quarterback. I do like a lot of things about this game, and I wouldn't count out Sam Darnold. I think it's the attractive name is C.J. Stroud, but Sam Darnold's been doing some good stuff. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break on the Fantasy Football Power Hour inside of this conversation on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, brought to you by the Wildcat Sports Pub. We'll be back after this fast break with plenty more advice on Fantasy Football Week 3, 2024-25 season. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicollis.com. That's myavicollis.com.
Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We are here inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, not one of, not a, but the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Head over there every single day of the week, including on game day. And of course, you can also go there for takeout and delivery by calling 315-487-2222. That's 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat takeout and delivery. And if you have questions, asking you to write those in. Appreciate you all. Did get a question in here from J2 Nice. He said, who should I start at flex for week 3? Ramondre Stevenson, Tony Pollard, Shaheed, or Pierce? Well, tell me what the rest of the team looks like, because there's a lot of those. I mean, I can argue a bunch of these guys to start. So, J2 Nice, tell me about the rest of your roster. If I had to pick of these right now, I mean, the reason why I ask is because who are you starting at wide receiver and at running back to have these guys as your flex? If I had to pick, and is it PPR? Because I would go with Shaheed, just looking at the list right now. But let me know who your starters are, as well as if it's PPR. Because those are 4 good flex opportunities that you must have a really good team if those are the guys that you're looking to flex out. So tell me who the rest of the guys are on the team, and I'm happy to help you. Let's go into the Eagles at the Saints. Speaking of Shaheed, Rashid Shaheed has been absolutely incredible, and the Eagles they haven't been. So they haven't been that great. They have struggled, and unfortunately, they're running into a potential buzzsaw here. The Saints blew out a team at home in Carolina, then went on the road and blew out the Cowboys, and now they're trying to just keep it going. Remember when the Saints had an offense where people were like, oh my goodness, how are you going to stop them? And I remember saying, the year that the Saints have a defense that's just like a little bit above average, they can win a Super Bowl. And then they had that offense with a defense that was a little bit above average, and they won the Super Bowl over Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, it was there. They had all the offense. I said, if they get a defense that's a little bit above the equator line, a little bit above average, they got a chance to win a Super Bowl, and they did. And I picked them to win that Super Bowl. I picked, when the Super Bowl came up, I gave the Saints the victory. I want to be clear, I didn't pick the Saints from the beginning, preseason. But I said, if this team gets a defense that's above average, they can win a Super Bowl because their offense was insane. And when the game came to be, and I picked between the two, I picked the Saints. And if Peyton Manning hadn't thrown an interception in that red zone area and he threw that touchdown, I would have had the team winning, which was the Saints, and I would have had the exact score. So if Peyton Manning had scored on that drive, I would have had the exact score. Crazy. So anyways, let's take a look at this game here. Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts. I mean, listen, he's hard to keep off the field. I do have him as a QB1 still in this. Saquon Barkley, listen, he gets over 100 yards on Monday Night Football. He drops a pass. We got to get over it and move on. You got to get over it and move on. I know people want to be mad at him, and Philadelphia can be, an unforgiving city at times, but listen. Saquon comes out in week 1, and everybody's like, that's why we got him. Right? That shootout back and forth with Green Bay and Brazil. And then Monday night, and keep in mind, they've played only primetime. They're playing at 1 o'clock now this week in week 3, but they've only played primetime. They play in Brazil in another country on Friday Night Football, and now they just played Monday Night Football. So I like Saquon in this game. I think he's going to take it personal to bounce back. A.J. Brown's doubtful, so you got to keep him off. I like Devontae Smith. Here's the craziness about Jahan Dotson. I accurately predicted the exact spot he was going to be drafted in, and I said the Philadelphia Eagles were going to take him at that exact spot. Washington traded up with Philadelphia to take that exact spot, so Jahan Dotson got drafted in the exact spot of the first round that I said he would be drafted, and I said he would be drafted by the Eagles. Washington traded up to that spot and traded with the Eagles to get up to that spot and took Jahan Dotson. So I was like, well, he got taken exactly where he was going to be taken. I can't, I can't be responsible for a team trading up to get him. But I said Philadelphia at that exact spot. Washington trades up, takes him at that place in the first round, and then he ends up in Philadelphia. So the team he's on right now and the spot that I had him in, it ends up happening. So I guess I was playing the long game. But Jahan Dotson, I'm going to have him as a wide receiver 3 or 4 in a deep league. You might look at putting him out here in this game, but I like Devontae Smith. I like him a little bit less because of how good New Orleans has been, but I still like putting him out there. I like Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts. Dallas Goedert, I got him as a mid-range tight end 1. As far as New Orleans goes, listen, Derek Carr, I got him as a mid-range QB 1. I like him. I have liked him. I have no idea why the Raiders got rid of him. I have been clear about that before. I like Jalen Hurts above him in fantasy, but I'm sitting here saying to myself, can I really keep Derek Carr off the field fantasy football-wise if he has yet another week where he gets after it? So he's at home again. I got him and listen, Carolina Panthers are terrible. Dallas has shown that early on in the season, again, people are having high hopes for this team, and again, they're not showing it early. It's only a couple weeks in, but let's keep in mind, they got the last time they were at home last season was in the playoffs against Green Bay, and they got blown out. Listen, the end of the game looks a little bit better because the game was already over, so the game looked closer, but Dallas was out of that game in the first quarter, arguably, definitely in the first half. So the last time they played at home at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, they got embarrassed by the Packers. Cut to their next game at home since that game. And these fans have been waiting in Arlington, Texas for the Cowboys to be back at home and show that they can take care of home field. And they get blown out by the Saints 44-19. Alvin Kamara has 4 touchdowns in the game. So you got a team that scored 47 and a team that scored 44. The Eagles aren't that great either. So if you play a Dallas team that was right? Dallas beat up on Cleveland, but then they come and play at home, and the last game they had at home against Green Bay, blowout, not in their favor, and their first one they've had since, blowout against New Orleans, not in their favor. And now you got Philadelphia. So you've taken care of Carolina, you've taken care of Dallas. I think the Saints are going to take care of Philadelphia. I think that Derek Carr, depending on what other quarterback you have, you got to let me know who you got. But Derek Carr, I got him as a mid-range QB1. And if he blows another team, I mean, if they blow Philadelphia out, and I mean, granted, these aren't the top teams in the NFL, in my opinion, right now, but I mean, if they blow them out and they score 40 plus or get close to 40, from here on out, I'm going to be looking at the matchups that Derek Carr has because, I mean, listen, the guy's done a great job. You play Alvin Kamara, you play Chris Olave, you play Rashid Shaheed, and I mean, yeah, I mean, I think those are the guys you definitely put out there. I think there's talent on Philadelphia. I think this game is going to be interesting. Maybe it's going to be a better game than what the New Orleans Saints have seen, but I can also see the New Orleans Saints just putting 40 up again as well and just keeping the ball rolling here in a really positive way for the New Orleans Saints, who have started off the season just taking it two teams. Next game that we have up here, Chargers at the Steelers. I want to get to some of your thoughts here, so let me go to them. Eric said, so the neighbors trade is good. Yeah, Eric, I want to make sure I got back to that. So let's see here. Trading away James Cook and Amari Cooper for Neighbors and Rashad White. I mean, you need a receiver, which I can understand. So I would say, I mean, I don't love the trade, Eric. But I like you getting Malik. And Rashad's not a bad bet. So I guess I would say make the trade. I'm like 51% to 49%. Thanks for the question, though, Eric. And don't think I forgot about you because I didn't. So I know I answered Jay's question, and then I was going to come back to you. So appreciate you reminding me here. Jay said, my starters, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Breece Hall, Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, Dalton Kincaid, Ramondre Stevenson, bench, Pierce, Pollard, Shaheed, Singletary, Rashad White, full PPR. Should I make any changes? So, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Breece Hall. No, man, I mean, compared to what you have on your bench, I like that. And then Devontae Adams, Mike Evans as your receivers. Devontae is playing Carolina. They're awful. And Mike Evans against Denver. I mean, that's a good matchup for him. So, yeah, I mean, flexing out, though, I would say, so Jay, I mean, giving me your whole team, and thank you for giving me that information. It's always better to give me more info than less, so I could truly help you all out to the best of my ability. To the guys and gals that are watching and listening, and thank you. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you do. To our channel on YouTube at Wake Up Call DT, as well as Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. It all comes together on our website, wakeupcalldt.com. So basically, if you know Wake Up Call DT, you're going to be able to find us anywhere. Eric said, thanks, my G. Absolutely, man. Happy to help you. J2, and make sure you subscribe. Appreciate you, Eric, and good to have you on here. Hope to see you back here again. Jay, I mean, the only change I would make from the starters you sent me would be putting Shaheed over Ramondre for this week because of the matchups. So I would put Shaheed over Ramondre. But you got a great team, man. That's why I asked you, because I'm like, these are your four guys to flex, and I like at least three of them right now. So, yeah, I mean, good for you, man. But I do like your team, J2 Nice. Make sure that you subscribe if you haven't yet. But I would go Shaheed. He's just had a terrific start to the season. I mean, look at New Orleans has been great. Gibby said, I'm curious, should I trade CMC and Trevor Lawrence for Travis Kelce, Cooper Kupp, and CJ Stroud? My tight end right now is Dalton Kincaid. Wide receivers, Devontae, Rashee Rice, Chris Godwin. Jay said subscribed and liked. Thank you, sir. Much appreciation to you. So, Gibby, to get back to this here, you got Brock Purdy? Yeah, man, do it. Gibby, how'd you end up with these guys? I mean, was anybody else drafting in your league? This is pretty ridiculous. I mean, I'm okay with you giving up Trevor right now. I'm a Jaguars fan, and I wasn't gung-ho about drafting Trevor this year. CMC, I mean, he's hurt, but you're getting Travis Kelce, and Cooper Kupp's hurt too. So who are your running backs, I guess is my question to you, Gibby. And that'll really help me put the gavel down on whether or not you should make this trade. So, Gibby, who are your running backs? And then I can assess this situation for you a little bit better. Let's get into the Chargers at the Steelers. If you have a question, send it in. You can send it to Facebook, to our feed that we have going on, our live feed around the country and the world. YouTube.com/wakeupcalldt, Facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So if you have a question, send it over to us. Happy to answer it. If you're watching this on playback, I mean, it's live right now, but there's going to be some of you that are going to watch this on playback. Make sure you shoot me a message to the actual video itself, or follow me on social media and write me a message at CallDT on X, Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT, or on Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, which you can reply to the video as well. So, Gibby, yeah, send me over your running back so I can help you truly answer this. Let's go Chargers at Steelers here. Jim Harbaugh is not having a bad start to his season as the Los Angeles Chargers head coach. I predicted he would go there if he was going to go anywhere, so I'm not surprised that he is there. I'm not surprised he's having success either. The Los Angeles, and I also told you Justin Fields was going to be the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, some of you might say, well, Dan, Russell Wilson was hampered by injury, da-da-da-da-da. Listen, I thought it was smoke and mirrors the whole time. And whether or not Russell Wilson started the season, Justin Fields is the starting quarterback of the Steelers, and I don't think he's going to relinquish that. So, as far as the Chargers go, Herbert has an ankle injury. He's left him questionable. If he's able to go, I got him as a QB1. Scotty, I saw your question. I'm going to get to it in a second. Make sure to subscribe while you're waiting on my answer here. Justin Herbert, if he's able to go, put him out there. I like J.K. Dobbins in the game. I want to go back to how the Chargers have started off this season. And here's the thing, right? I said they were going to have to eventually I said maybe go another year and then get rid of Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, because the guys were getting older and they were getting injured a lot. It's not like they were getting older and more seasoned in the game and staying healthy. They were getting injured a lot, and sometimes multiple guys at a time being out for the Chargers. Well, Jim Harbaugh got rid of them all when he came in, and Keenan Allen's on the injury report right now. Mike Williams is a guy who you wonder if he's 100%. Austin Eckler's been doing some good things in Washington, but you know, I mean, those moves they had to make them. And the Chargers have started out 2-0, and they just beat the Panthers on the road, who are the worst team in the NFL. I said last year they were the worst team in the NFL. I said this year they could be the worst team in the NFL, and unfortunately, they've proven that prediction to be correct in the first couple weeks. Dobbins and Edwards are both getting involved. Dobbins had 17 carries. Edwards had 18, both coming over from the Ravens. I love the balanced attack. I didn't like choosing between one of them in Baltimore. I thought it was a stupid decision by John Harbaugh not playing them both. I mean, him and the offensive coordinator. To me, why are both of the guys not out there? They're both talented. And now we're seeing Jim Harbaugh and his team put both of the guys out there, and look at how good it's gone. So Gus Edwards had 59 yards on 18 carries, 3.3 yards a carry, not great. J.K. Dobbins, 17 carries, 131 yards, 7.7 yards a carry, and a touchdown. Quentin Johnston, who we've been waiting to show up, he had 2 touchdowns. He was a rookie last year out of TCU. 6 targets, 5 catches, 51 yards, 2 touchdowns in the game. The 2 touchdowns thrown by Justin Herbert were to Quentin Johnston. Ladd McConkey, who had a touchdown in his debut last week in week 1 for the Chargers. Wide receiver wearing number 15, 4 targets, 2 catches, 26 yards. I got a feeling he might get after it again this week. I like Ladd McConkey as a flex guy, maybe a wide receiver 4 for you this week. Outside of that, Quentin Johnston, I have him as a wide receiver 2 this week. Josh Palmer, I mean, we haven't really seen anything from him. There's the hope that he will, but I'm not sold on that. And then I think J.K. Dobbins is absolutely worth the play. In a league where you're playing 4 running backs, maybe Gus is your third or fourth guy. If Justin Herbert's able to go, I'd go with Justin Herbert. Outside of that, Russell Wilson's still on the injury report for the Steelers. Inactive with his calf injury. God willing, he'll be okay. Najee Harris, this is a guy who was really a lot better in fantasy than I gave him credit for. And I got to give credit to Mike Sofko, who was on the show at the time, was talking to me about him. I hadn't looked at the numbers, and he was saying all these things about him. I went and looked at it, and I was like, wow. I mean, I absolutely was wrong. Justin Fields is 2-0 right now in his first 2 games as a Pittsburgh Steeler. They haven't been necessarily all the prettiest of games, but he's done well. Najee Harris, 17 carries, 69 yards, 4.1 yards a carry in the last game. 13-6 win over Denver on the road. I saw your questions come in. I'm going to get to them in a second. Jalen Warren, 9 carries, 42 yards, 4.7 yards a carry. Freiermuth, one of my favorite tight ends of the game, 4 catches on 4 targets, 39 yards, led the team. George Pickens, 2 catches, 4 targets, 29 yards. Jalen Warren caught both of the balls thrown to him out of the backfield, and he had 19 yards. Najee had 2 thrown his way, caught 1 for 5 yards. So he is involving the guys, out of the backfield as well. Justin Fields, do I have him as a QB1 for you? No. Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, I got them both as low end 2, high end 3 wide receiver. In a really deep league, maybe one of them is your 2, but neither one of them has separated themselves from the other. Najee's still getting the carries. George Pickens, I got him as a wide receiver 3. Freiermuth, I have him as a low end tight end 1. And then Najee and Jalen, I have as wide receiver 3s. I think that the points are going to be more on the side of the Chargers on the road if Justin Herbert is able to go. So make sure that he's good. And if he's good, then there we go. To make a move from here to our next game, I do want to get to your questions first, but just to circle the game that we're going to be doing next, we're going to have, speaking of the Broncos, we're going to go to Denver and have Denver at Tampa. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you do. Scotty sent me a question. Zamir White or DJ Moore at the flex? Well, Zamir is playing Carolina, and DJ is going up against Indy. I mean, I like looking at the 2 names together. I would say DJ I like more. Pun fully intended. But I like Zamir's matchup this week more. And I covered Zamir when he was in college at Georgia, winning a national championship. If we go back and look at Zamir, the Raiders won on the road against Baltimore, who's 0-2. Who would have thunk that was going to happen? He only had 24 yards on 9 carries. He was involved out of the backfield, 4 targets, 3 catches. I mean, between the 2 of them, Scotty, I'm going to go with my knee-jerk reaction. So my knee-jerk is, I would say, more over White. I mean, I like White's matchup this week, but talent-wise, how I feel about fantasy right now between the 2, I would pick Moore. Make sure to subscribe, Scotty, if you haven't yet. Gibby said, 12-man league. I got screwed with CMC going on IR. I have Dobbins, Jordan Mason, Devon Achane, and Nick Chubb to sit on the bench. Okay, so your question to me was, should you trade CMC for Trevor Lawrence, CMC and Trevor Lawrence for Travis Kelce, Cooper Kupp, and CJ Stroud? Gibby, I'm going to say yeah. Because I just wanted to see who the rest of your guys were, but I was leaning toward yes. So I would say, yeah, make the trade. Because now you're going to have CJ Stroud and Brock Purdy. You're going to have Travis Kelce and Dalton Kincaid. Like, yeah, corner of the market, man. Good stuff. Cat for life. Hey, bro, need one flex spot. Dante Foreman, Naylor, or Pittman. And so and you said Losivas, the Bengals wide receiver, I'm guessing here. So, do I trade Josh Allen for J.K. Dobbins? No, Cap. No. 14-team PPR just picked up Sam Darnold. Okay, I like it. No, you do not trade Josh Allen. Josh Allen's one of those guys you don't trade. unless the guy, was on IR. But God willing, that'll never happen. So let's see here. So need one flex. Dante Foreman, Jalen Naylor, Michael Pittman, Lascivas. Not Lascivas. Michael Pittman hasn't been great. Dante Foreman, I talked about him earlier on here in the broadcast, and we've seen him get involved in a different way. So, I mean, we've seen him get involved more than I anticipated with Cleveland. But, I mean, of the ones you're giving me, I would have to say, because Cleveland's playing the Giants, but Jerome Ford, I would imagine, is going to get more. So, I would say of what you've given me, I'm going to say, and they're also playing Houston. I don't really like, Lascivas, no. Pittman, I just don't feel good telling you that, even though he's supposed to be the number one guy, but that could be Alec Pierce. I'm going to say Jalen Naylor. To your question, Cap, I'm going to say Naylor, slight edge over Dante Foreman, just because I think that we're going to see more from Jerome Ford. Gibby said, I also have Ridley for wide receiver if I need to add to that trade. So, yeah, man, if you don't have to, don't. But I like it. And Cap said, thanks, bro. My pleasure, man. Gibby said, already hit the subscribe. Thank you, sir. I appreciate your help. I appreciate your question. Larry said, Zach Charbonnet or Zamira White, running back 2 spot in PPR. Well, past the Charbonnet, he's been good. They're playing the Dolphins, but they're playing at home. Between him and Zamir, I'm going to say Charbonnet. I'd go with Charbonnet on that. Charbonnet over White, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet to Larry's question here. Appreciate you. Cap said Mooney is on the waiver. Yeah, it depends on what you'd be giving up, Cap, for Mooney. But, yeah. So, let's head to the Broncos at the Bucks. I'm going to go to Broncos at the Bucks here. Thank you for your questions. Make sure to subscribe while you're with us. Of course, youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. You can also find us on YouTube by simply just searching at wakeupcalldt. Facebook.com/wakeupcalldt. You can find us on Facebook at wakeupcalldt. And, of course, our internet streaming radio that has episodes dating all the way back to 2012. Over 1,800 episodes on Podbean. You can find us on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. Make sure you click follow, subscribe to us there. It's free to go to all those. On X, we are at CallDT, and on Instagram at wakeupcall_DT. So, with that being said, let's get to the Broncos at the Bucks. The Broncos haven't looked pretty with Bo Nix, but like I told you, my preseason prediction is that Jaden Daniels would have the best season of all 2024 rookie quarterbacks, and that Bo Nix arguably might be right behind him in that respect. So, taking a look at how things have gone for the Denver Broncos thus far, I'm going to take I want to see Denver first and foremost here, how the Broncos have done up to this point. So, they're 0-2 to start the season. They've lost 2 close games. They lost to the Seahawks on the road by 1 possession, 26-20, and they lost to the Steelers at home by 1 possession, 13-6. So, Hunter, I saw your question here, and Larry said, just subscribe. Let's go! So, appreciate you, Larry. Jelly of the Month, by the way, one of my favorite YouTube names ever, Jelly of the Month. So, I'm going to get to you and Hunter, and I'm going to get to Cap's question as well in just a second. Let me go to Denver here. Bo Nix, 20 of 35, 246 yards in the loss at home against the Steelers. No touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 4 carries, 25 yards for Bo, 6.3 yards a carry. Javonte Williams, absolutely disgustingly awful running the ball. Javonte Williams, 11 carries, 17 yards, 1.5 yards a carry. Ew. I hope that gets better for Javonte. I covered him at North Carolina. I thought he was going to have a better career with Denver. Josh Reynolds, 4 catches, 5 targets, 93 yards. Lil Jordan Humphrey, 5 targets, 4 catches, 50 yards for him. Javonte Williams did catch. He redeemed himself in PPR. 5 targets, 5 catches, 48 yards. Not too shabby there. So, I mean, Denver going into Tampa Bay. I got Tampa Bay winning this game. I would say, Jaleel McLaughlin, we didn't really see his involvement. Maybe we'll see more as time goes by. There's really nobody in fantasy that I'm sold on to tell you to put out there for the Denver Broncos. To be completely honest with you, I mean, Cortland Sutton, no. I mean, Jaleel Humphrey, 3 carries for 6 yards. So, no. I don't have anybody to tell you for Denver this week. As far as Tampa goes, Baker Mayfield, yes. Mike Evans, yes. Chris Godwin, yes. Cade Otton, I got him as because of this matchup. I'm going to put him in. I'll have him as a tight end too, but maybe a low end one, high end tight end too. Rashad White's got a groin injury. You got to watch those things. Groin and hamstring, especially with wide receivers and running backs, could be a pain in the tush all season long. So God willing, he'll be okay. Bucky Irving and Sean Tucker, who I covered at Syracuse, who set some records at Syracuse, like Sean Tucker. So Bucky, he's playing Denver. I'm going to put Bucky. If Rashad doesn't end up going, I'm going to put Sean Tucker and Bucky Irving as running back 4s. If Rashad ends up going, I'm going to put him, I mean, it's a groin injury, so I don't feel great about it. I'll probably put him as a low-end running back 2 because of the injury, even if he's able to go. But just watch that. I think definitely the fantasy advantage lies on the side of the Denver Broncos. Before we get into Green Bay at Tennessee, Tennessee just hosted Aaron Rodgers and the gang and lost that one, so we'll see how this one goes. Larry said, thank you. Logan said, Rashad White or Devontae Adams for this week. Devontae Adams are playing Carolina, and Rashad White has a groin injury. So I think I just answered it by talking about the game there. So Logan, I'm going to say Devontae because of the matchup and because of the groin injury that we're seeing with Rashad White. So I'm going to say Devontae for you. If you haven't subscribed, Logan, make sure that you do. And then Cap said Seattle defense or the Chargers defense. Well, Seattle's playing Miami and the Chargers are playing Pittsburgh. I'm going to say the Chargers defense. So Cap, I'm gonna say Chargers defense and special teams this week. And then Jelly of the Month, half PPR. Drop Chase Brown for Samaje Perine, Kareem Hunt, or Dante Foreman. Well, Hunt's got to get back to it. Dante Foreman's been involved, but I think Jerome Ford's going to get the majority of it. And I don't like the situation necessarily with the Bengals. So if you're going to feet to the fire me on that one, Jelly of the Month. Once again, one of my favorite names ever in the history of broadcasting, and I've done it for over 20 years. Jelly of the Month. If you drop Chase Brown, I would say right now, I'd go Foreman. Maybe Hunt. Perine, I mean, and I'm guessing you're talking about Samaje. So, I mean, Samaje, you know, he's, well, I don't, see, this is tough. This is tough because you got, yeah, I mean, I think it's still, I mean, Samaje, the fact that he's with Kansas City, but I would say Foreman, and I think Hunt's got maybe a better, I mean, Perine and Hunt, that's a tough one because Hunt could be there and then like get dropped after that. So maybe I would say Foreman, then Perine, and then Hunt. So a Jelly of the Month, I'm going to say Foreman, then Perine, and then I'm going to say Hunt. is what I would say in this situation. Larry said just subscribe, saw that, appreciate it. Hunter said, should I hold or sell Xavier Worthy? Hold on it, man. And if you haven't subscribed, Hunter, make sure you do. So hold on Worthy. We're 2 weeks in. Dude's fast, and he's in Kansas City's offense. Cap said, drop Coleman or Emmanuel Wilson for Mooney. I have Shakir and Jacobs. I guess you're saying Keon Coleman? So I guess that's the one you're saying for that. I mean, Darnell Mooney. I mean, I like him. Jelly said thanks, subscribes, appreciate it. I obviously cover Tulane. I'd probably wait. Well, and I'd probably wait. And then Cap said, do I trade for Jordan Reed? It depends on who you have. It always depends on who you have, Cap. So Cap for life, depends on who you got. And then Larry said, DJ Moore or Metcalf flex spot. Thanks again. So DJ Moore or Metcalf. Let's go back to this here. DJ Moore or Metcalf. So DJ Moore is playing the Colts on the road. DK is playing the Dolphins at home. I'm gonna say Metcalf because of who's throwing to him. So where are we here? Larry, I'd go with Metcalf this week. I'd go with DK, and make sure you subscribe if you haven't yet. Jelly said thank you. Tim sent me a question. Drop Christian Watson for Christian Kirk. Here's the thing, man. Monday Night Football has got a doubleheader, and Christian Kirk has to go to Buffalo. Christian Watson is going to Tennessee. Now, granted, Jordan Love is injured. I like... The tough thing for me is I think that Christian Watson's more talented than maybe people are giving him credit for. And I know that in fantasy, he gets frustrating because it's inconsistent. And Christian Kirk is good when it comes to PPR. And Tim, I don't know if you're in a PPR league. I guess you can write that in and that can help me out here. But, I mean, with Malik Willis, Christian Watson, yeah. I mean, yeah, I'd probably do it. I mean, there's nothing there. So, Tim, I would say between the Christians right now, I'd say yes. Go with Kirk. Because when Kirk is healthy, he's a good possession receiver. And he's better than people give him credit for. And make sure to subscribe if you haven't. Appreciate you very much. Appreciate all of you for your questions that are coming from all over the country. Some of them come from all over the world, so shout out to you for that. Let's get into the next matchup here. That's going to take me to the Green Bay game. So speaking of Christian Watson, Green Bay at Tennessee. Let's hop into this game here. I'm going to try and run these games quick so we get everything in on the internet radio stream. So let's do Green Bay at Tennessee, and then if your questions come in, I'll answer them as well. Appreciate all the subscriptions that we've got. Green Bay, Josh Jacobs is worth the play. Emmanuel Wilson, we're looking at him as the number 2 guy. Green Bay is at Tennessee. I like Emmanuel as a flex guy, maybe a running back 4. So I like Josh Jacobs, Jaden Reed. I mean, the game for Malik Willis, 12 for 14. 122 yards, 1 touchdown. They ran the ball for 206. They ran the ball 53 times, and they threw the ball 14 times. So that's going to show you, what Green Bay is going to maybe try to do with Malik Willis. He carried the ball 6 times for 41 yards himself. Josh Jacobs had the 53 carries of the Packers in a 16-10 home win over the Colts in Week 2. Jacobs had 32 of the 53 carries for 151 of the 261 yards, 4.7 yards a carry. He did alone, and his team had 4.9 yards a carry. So you play Josh Jacobs. especially in the way the offense is set up now. Jaden Reed, I'd probably relegate him down the line here. I mean, listen, Josh Jacobs in a flex with Emmanuel Wilson because of the offense they're running with Malik Willis. On the other side of this matchup for the Tennessee Titans, Tennessee's a team that I don't really believe in as of right now. And I'm just really not sold on what they're doing. I think they made a mistake too in getting, they lost both. This is kind of weird. If we go back in history, has any team lost in the NFL back-to-back games in a season by the same score, 24-17? Kind of interesting stat there. The Tennessee Titans, Will Levis, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 19-28, 192 yards. Tony Pollard, 17 carries, 62 yards. Tajay Spears, 6 carries for 20 yards. Pollard caught 5 of the 6 thrown his way out of the backfield. Tajay caught the 2 thrown his way. I mean, in this game against Green Bay, I'm going to say I like Tony Pollard as a running back too. I'm not really sold on any of their receivers. Okonkwo, I like him at tight end. I'll put him as a tight end 1 this week. And then Tajay, he's on the injury report with an ankle injury. So probably Tony Pollard even more so is what I would say in this matchup. To go to our next game here, I want to make sure we get through to all of these games, like I said, while we're on the internet streaming radio, so nobody misses out on that. Carolina, I can make it really easy for you. Carolina going up against the Oakland Raiders. The Carolina Panthers are absolutely, positively the worst team in football. And I said it could happen, and they've definitely not disappointed in my prediction. Andy Dalton is the starting quarterback. They have benched Bryce Young, their number 1 pick of just a couple of years ago, or last season. He was a number 1 overall pick. And now, no thank you. So I don't like anybody to put out there. I mean, Deontay Johnson or Adam Thielen in a really deep league, if you want to put out a 4th wide receiver, have at it, America, but I don't feel great about it. The Raiders just went on the road and beat the Ravens. I think if you're going to play Gardner Minshew in any week, this would be the week to play him. I got him as a low-end 1, high-end 2, but listen, Gardner Minshew helped beat the Baltimore Ravens, and now he's playing a team that is the worst team in the NFL. Zamir White, I don't feel great about it. I got him as a running back too. Devontae Adams as a play. Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. Bowers, I'm going to put him out here in this one. So I'm going to, Brock Bowers, yes. Devontae, yes. Zamir White, yes. Gardner Minshew, if there's a week you're going to put him out there, this would be the week to do it. The fantasy value and the value overall in reality lies on the side of the Raiders. There's never a sure thing, as we know, with Baltimore losing to the Raiders at home, but I feel good about the Raiders in this game. Just want to remind people there is no sure thing. So let's get to the Dolphins and the Seahawks. The Miami Dolphins, first and foremost, because they are the road team. The Miami Dolphins, if he is able to go, then Achane, he's not on the injury report, so I'd put him out there. They brought in Tyler Huntley. I like Tyreek Hill because Skylar Thompson can just toss the ball over to him. Jalen Waddle, I got him because of this offense and because of not having Tua out there. Achane is a definite running back 1 for me. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, I have them as wide receiver 2s just because of the offense and what it's going to potentially look like moving forward here, just like the changes that we saw in Green Bay as well. And then Seattle, so you rely on Josh Jacobs in Green Bay, you rely on Achane in Miami, so that's good for fantasy football owners. The Seattle, not good for the wide receiver owners, but good for that. Now Tyreek Hill, like I said, direct snap, maybe they'll try and do more of that with him. And Tyler Huntley can run around a little bit, was the backup to Lamar Jackson in Baltimore for a while. The Seattle Seahawks in this matchup, Geno Smith, I got him as a quarterback too, but he's got some good things to bring here. Zach Charbonnet with Kenneth Walker III oblique injury. If he's still out, then you're going to want to start Charbonnet in this game. DK Metcalf, I like him as well. Jackson Smith and Jigba, he had his first 100-yard game young in his career in the NFL, but I do like him. And Tyler Lockett, not getting too much. Jackson Smith and Jigba, I got him as a wide receiver, low end 2, high end 3 in this. DK is a definite play for me. And I don't feel great about Miami stepping forward because of the situation that they're unfortunately in. And more than anything, I pray for the health and safety of Tua because his life after football is far more important than touchdowns and winning games. Detroit at Arizona, taking a look at this matchup. I'm going to go with Detroit, the road team first. So going to the Detroit Lions at the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals have proven that they can do some good things. They proved this last week that they can actually score the ball, which is really, really nice to see because they should be able to do that because they have a ton of talent to do that. So it's nice to see them actually go out there and get after it and it not just be something on paper. The Detroit Lions, Jared Goff is worth the play in this game. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, both worth the play. Jamison Williams, I got him as a wide receiver too. Amon-Ra St. Brown, if he's able to go with his lower leg injury, I have him as a starter to put out there a little bit ahead of Jamison Williams. I like Sam Laporta. You definitely got to put Laporta out there. And a 41-10 win at home against the Rams says a lot about this team. Keep in mind, when they lost to the Bills on the road, they still scored almost 30 points with 28 points. I like Kyler Murray he's playing Detroit, so I got him as a quarterback too in this, I should say. James Conner, I have him as a lower-end running back too because of the matchup, but I do like James Conner. I do think he's worth the play in your 2 deep. I wouldn't put him as a running back 3. I like Marvin Harrison Jr., but we'll see if he can create separation. Michael Wilson's going to have to help him out. He might be a flex in a deep league for you, but Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to show against a good team and a good defense if he can get himself open. If he does, could be another awesome day. I got him as a lower-end wide receiver too because we don't know exactly what he's going to do. And Trey McBride, I do have him as a tight end 1 behind Sam Laporta, but still a guy worth putting out there because of his talents. The next one that we have up here is going to take us Baltimore at Dallas. Oh, isn't it so great for the Dallas Cowboys that after getting blown out at home by the New Orleans Saints, they get to play a team that just lost a game that many people, including myself, didn't have them losing at home to the Raiders. So now Baltimore's pissed off, and they're coming into a Dallas team that doesn't seem to play that much of defense and hasn't been that good at home dating back to last season into this season. Your last 2 games at home are blowouts. A playoff game against Green Bay and last week against New Orleans. Well, now you got the Baltimore Ravens coming in. Lamar Jackson's worth the play. Derrick Henry's worth the play. Zay Flowers is worth the play. Mark Andrews is worth the play. And what did I tell you going into this year? Arguably the best 1-2 punch at tight end. Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. But when Mark Andrews is healthy, Likely takes a back seat. That's the only issue. So I'd play Mark Andrews in this matchup because he's healthy and ready to go, but I hope that they could find them both. Isaiah Likely's hard to keep off the field because he's been so good, but when Mark Andrews is healthy, he's the guy that we typically see out there. So I lean on him in this one. Running back wise, I don't feel great about anybody here. I feel like you should put CeeDee Lamb out there. Jake Ferguson, he's a good tight end, but he's a guy who is on the injury report here still. He has an MCL injury. God willing, he's able to go. I mean, outside of that, I don't feel great about anybody. I don't feel great about Dak. Now, this is a game that they're arguably not supposed to win, and they just had an awful game. So maybe this is where Dak plays well. But CeeDee Lamb's the only one I feel good fantasy-wise telling you to put out there on your team. I got a lot of questions with Dallas, and unfortunately, Dallas hasn't given me or their fan base a lot of answers. Next game that we have up is San Francisco at the Rams. San Francisco just lost a game on the road to Minnesota, and the Rams just got blown out when they were on the road at Arizona. So, interesting here, there. And the Rams are just hampered. God bless those guys getting better, getting well, and getting back on the field. The Rams have been hampered by injury. San Fran is hampered by their injury to their starting running back, Christian McCaffrey, but Jordan Mason has played well. The Rams defense doesn't look the same without Aaron Donald, and this Rams team does not want to play this team coming in. I got Brock Purdy out there. I got Jordan Mason out there. I got Brandon Ayuk out there. I got George Kittle out there. Debo's doubtful to go in this game with a calf injury. God willing, he can get back better. But Jawan Jennings is a waiver wire or free agency guy you might want to put out there as a wide receiver 3 this week. On the other side of it, with Matt Stafford not having Cooper Kupp and not having Puka Nacua, that's not good because they have Demarcus Robinson, Jordan Whittington, who is a guy. Now, there's a really smart guy in one of our fantasy leagues here in Central New York, Mark West, and he always goes after guys that people don't have. It's a name where you're like, who is this guy? And Jordan Whittington was a guy that he wanted me to make because I had to draft for him because he was out of town. He wanted to make sure I got him this guy no matter what. He put this guy specifically on the list. And now the guy's going to end up being arguably the number 1 guy with the Rams because The door is open to Demarcus Robinson, Tyler Johnson, Jordan Whittington, and Tutu Atwell. So we'll see what happens. Also, tight end Colby Parkinson. If you're going to put somebody out there for the Rams, it's Kyron Williams because they're probably going to run the ball. I don't feel great about anything, but maybe this is the game that shows me that Mark West is a genius once again with Jordan Whittington. So we shall see. We shall definitely see with this, and we're going to go on to our next game. I got a couple questions that came in from Super Dave and Tim. I will get to those momentarily. I want to make sure that I don't miss out on getting you the rest of these games to those of you watching and listening all over the country and the world. Kansas City at Atlanta. Atlanta just showed that they could go into Philadelphia, one of the most unwelcoming places to go if you're not wearing the colors of that city, and they found a way to win. And what did I tell you years ago? Kirk Cousins is an above the equator line quarterback in the NFL. He is in the top 15. He is not a guy that you can just put there and say he's average. He's above average. I love the fact, faith to faith, that he believes in God and that he talks about it. Kansas City is going into Atlanta. I think this is going to be a better game than we're going to give credit to, maybe on the outside looking in. Not for me. I'm going to give credit to this team. Which, speaking of the Falcons, I like Pat Mahomes in the game. Carson Steele is supposed to be the number one guy here, and Samaje Perine behind him. So we'll see how this goes. Carson Steele, if you want to grab him and put him out there as a flex. Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy, I got them both as wide receiver 3s. Travis Kelce as a 1. Pat Mahomes as a 1. On the other side of it, Kirk Cousins, I don't have him as a quarterback 1 in fantasy, but in reality, he could lead a comeback in this game. Could make it interesting here. I have Kirk Cousins as a quarterback 2 as far as fantasy goes. Bijan is a play. Tyler Algier, I want to see him get more involved. I think they could have a 1-2 punch here. Anthony, I'm going to get to your question as well. I did see it. So Algier, I'm going to say if you're going to play 3 to 4 running backs, he's not a bad one to put out on Sunday night. Give you some hopeful insurance if your team is down going into Sunday night and Monday night. But I like Bijan in the game. I like Drake in the game. Kyle Pitts, goodness sakes, can somebody get this man involved in the end zone? But I like Kyle Pitts as a mid-range tight end 1. A lot of fantasy value here, and I think the game is going to be better than we give it credit for. But if Algier can get involved, that might open up Bijan even more. Because think about how good Bijan was against Philadelphia, and then they spelled him with Algier, who had a couple good plays there late in the game. So something to look out for. Definitely Bijan is a running back 1. Algier maybe as a running back 3. Monday Night Football doubleheader, Jacksonville at Buffalo, Washington at Cincinnati. These are going to be some good games that are going on. I'm going to go to Jacksonville first. I'm not sold on Trevor Lawrence. I do like Trevor Lawrence. I did cover him in college. I have interviewed Trevor Lawrence and been around Trevor Lawrence. So, I got a lot of respect for the guy. Fantasy-wise, I got to be impartial. It's a cardinal sin to be partial when you're broadcasting. So as much as I love Jacksonville and Trevor, impartiality is important to me, or else why even listen to the show? So Travis Etienne Jr., I like him. Christian Kirk is a possession guy. Gabe Davis is going back to the team that let him go. So this is something that it either works out or it doesn't work out. So I'd flex him out maybe as a wide receiver 3 or 4, because normally they go up against the team that they were just on with a new team and they do really, really well, or they disappear. So Gabe Davis, I'm going to say wide receiver 4 in this matchup, but something to think about. Brian Thomas Jr., I got him as a wide receiver 3. I got Kirky as good, especially in a PPR, maybe as a wide receiver 2, maybe a lower end wide receiver 2. I like Travis Etienne Jr. in the game. On the other side for Buffalo, I like Josh Allen. I like James Cook. Khalil Shakir, I got him as a 3. Keon Coleman, I got as a 3 behind Shakir. Dalton Kincaid, I got him as a tight end 1. And our other Monday night game, before I get to your questions, thank you for being patient. The other Monday night game that I want to touch on here is Washington at Cincinnati, the Commanders at the Bungles. And as we go into this Commanders-Bengals game, I'm going to go first with the Washington Commanders. I would play their kicker, because obviously he can score more points than Carolina can do as a total offense. So I like the kicker. I'm definitely a fan of Austin Siebert, who put the game on his shoulders this past week. In the matchup, Jaden Daniels, I'd probably leave him off. Terry McLaurin, I like playing him out here. Zach feels so good, it hurts. We talk about guys having short-lived careers in the NFL, which always makes me sad. Well, Zach Ertz has had the opposite. He's been with Philadelphia. He's been with Arizona. Now he's a Commander. And, I mean, they played a terrible Giants team. They were going to play a good Cincinnati team, and they're going to play them on the road. So I like Siebert as your kicker on Monday night. Zach Ertz, 4 targets, 4 catches, 62 yards. Eckler caught all 3 that were thrown his way out of the backfield for 47 yards. Carried the ball 8 times for 38 yards. Brian Robinson Jr., 17 carries, 133 yards. Jaden Daniels, 10 carries, 44 yards. Brian Robinson, 7.8 yards a carry. Jaden Daniels, 23 for 29, 226 in his second game ever in the NFL. No touchdowns, no interceptions. So, I mean, if I'm going to tell you to put somebody out there, especially in PPR, you might want to put Zach Ertz out there, depending on who your tight ends are. Terry McLaurin, I like. Brian Robinson Jr., I like. Austin Eckler as a running back 3. McLaurin caught 6 of the 8 thrown his way, only had 22 yards, but good in PPR. And as far as the Cincinnati Bengals go, obviously Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Mike Gesicki, I got him as a low-end 1, high-end 2. Zach Moss, I got him in a deep league as a running back 2, if not a running back 3. And I think there's some value there. So with that being said, I want to thank you for tuning into the Fantasy Football Power Hour as we went through every single team. And, of course, be with us every Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And obviously beyond that, we never stay true to being at 11, under promise, over deliver. So plenty coming up, probably presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza in Camillus, New York, 3680 Milton Avenue. Once again, go there 7 days a week, including on game day, and check out all the games, eat some awesome food, and be in a great atmosphere. And for takeout and delivery, call the Wildcat at 315-487-2222. With that being said, I do want to get to your questions. We had a bunch of them come in. So Tim, Supa, Anthony, Brad, Captain, I think you're all new names here, so make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel. And I would definitely appreciate that. Definitely appreciate it for everybody that has and everybody that is. So I'm going to do it in the order that they came in. Tim, I'm going to hit yours first. I have Laporta and Brock Bowers. Worth flexing one of them. Other options at flex would be Xavier Worthy, Zamir White, Tank Dell, or Losivas. So I would say you got Laporta and Bowers. So this week, Laporta is playing the Cardinals and Bowers is going up against the Raiders. And then you asked me if I would flex out one of them. You can flex out Xavier Worthy or Zamir White. Well, Xavier Worthy's going to be on Sunday Night Football, so I think that bodes well for him. Tank Dell, I like him, but I'm still wondering where he's going to show up in this offense. It's hard for me to tell you to play 2 tight ends in the same week, but I like both of their matchups. So, Tim, I mean, to answer your question, it's hard for me to say 2 tight ends in the same week, but this would be the week to do it. I like Laporta over Bowers. Could see you playing both, but I like Worthy, especially with Pacheco being out. I like Worthy on Sunday Night Football. So if I had to answer you right now in this moment, I'd say to go Laporta and Worthy, but I'm not going to be mad at you if you put Bowers out there. Supa Dave said, would you drop Adonai Mitchell for Tyler Lockett in full PPR? The answer is yes. So she already asking me with trying to load that question. He said, oh yeah, my opponent, McBride owner, sniped me on Hunter Henry, Gesicki or Ertz. I would say Gesicki or Ertz. I mean, Gesicki and Ertz are playing each other. I mean, I like Zach Ertz, but with quarterback throwing to him, so Super Dave, and make sure you subscribe here. I'd go Gesicki over Ertz. And then, I mean, would you drop Adonai Mitchell for Lockett in full PPR? I mean, Lockett's been kind of quiet. I don't know if I would give up on Mitchell just yet. I would give it another week. Hopefully you got wide receivers that are better than both of those guys in fantasy. So I would give Mitchell another week. I mean, he's a rookie. So, I mean, it's hard for me to tell you, like, absolutely drop him. I like Tyler Lockett, but Jackson Smith and Jigba, I thought at some point was going to rise up the ranks here, and DK's DK. So, keep in mind, Tyler Lockett's the oldest in the game. So, we'll see. But I do like Tyler Lockett. And then Anthony here, should I trade Saquon for ETN and Jamison Williams PPR redraft? No. Well, I mean, here's the thing. I like Jamison Williams, but, I mean, here's the issue, Anthony. Again, somebody's trying to take advantage of you. Somebody's trying to take advantage of you because Saquon dropped a ball. Okay? Saquon was like the phenom of week 1, and now someone's trying to take advantage of you because Saquon dropped a pass. Don't let him take advantage of you. Hold on to him, Anthony. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you do. Brad said, I have no reliable running back 2 until later in the season. Maybe if Chubb comes back and is solid. Doubtful about it. Would I trade Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and Jerome Ford for Joe Mixon, Devontae Adams, and Drake London? Well, you said you have no reliable running back 2, and right now you have one in Jerome Ford, and Joe Mixon's hurt. So that's an issue. You would be trading away the only reliable guy that maybe you have. So send me your running backs, Brad, so I can answer this question fully. Appreciate that. Send me over your running backs. What else we get here? Captain Joe King said, huge fan of the show. Thanks, Captain. Appreciate you. Already a subscriber. I appreciate that too. I traded Worthy and Flowers for Bowers. I know, pretty bold. I just think there's a new king in town with Bowers and finishes as tight end 1. Opinions. I have Kyle Pitts. And he sent me an emoji of the face throwing up. Sick to your stomach face. I mean, listen, Kyle Pitts is talented. They just need to throw to him consistently. I think the best option he's had at quarterback in a minute here is Kirk Cousins. So I don't hate that. I'm not happy that you traded away Worthy and Flowers for Bowers, but I do like Brock Bowers. And then Super Dave said, CeeDee Lamb, Rashee Rice, Marvin Harrison Jr., Neighbors, and Jamison Williams. So, I mean, that's a fantastic room, man. So, yeah, I would hold on for a little while, Super Dave. But I appreciate you, man. With that being said, we're going to take our final step aside of this edition of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented inside of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora by the Wildcat Sports Pub, the place to go to watch all of these games and more. 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. And, of course, for Takeout Delivery, call 315-487-2222. We'll take our final step aside, and we'll be back to wrap up the broadcast right after this.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family friendly. Some family friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. They get you closer to your team and to your favorite players. We talk about fantasy football. Well, how about going over to GG Cards and Breaks and having singles, packs, boxes, and graded cards, as well as the only store that I know that has every NFL team, every NBA team, and every Major League Baseball team has their own box. Every MLB, NFL, NBA, right there for you, whoever you're a fan of. And they have an NFL section, Major League Baseball section, an NBA section. They have college players, graded cards, packs, and boxes. You never know what you're going to find at GG Cards and Breaks. So if you're looking for someone specifically, you can look in the boxes and look in the cases. If you're looking to try your luck by opening a box or a pack or multiple packs and boxes, all of it is at GG Cards and Breaks, as well as going out there and finding Disney Lorcana, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, and Pokemon cards, boxes, all that good stuff, graded cards, single cards, and packs. Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Sundays from 10 to 5, 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. It is a must-go-to, and it is the sports card and trading card shop of choice for me. And we're going to have trade night with the community where we can buy, sell, and trade with GG Cards and Breaks and each other of all ages. If you've never collected cards, come out and see us. If you have collected, come out and see us. And we're going to be there for trade night. Everyone can bring their stuff out to 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse this Thursday, September 19th from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. So we look forward to seeing you out there. With that being said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Of course, big time thanks to Nate Champion, Lemoyne Dolphins men's basketball head coach, breaking down the schedule with us and speaking on recruiting and the character that Lemoyne is looking for. Big time thanks to Corey Etzel of Stanford, who's returning to Syracuse for the third time, first time with the Stanford Cardinal, for Stanford's historic first game as an ACC team, taking on the Syracuse Orange Friday Night Lights this Friday. I'll be there at the Dome. I hope you will be too, as the West Coast meets the East Coast in an ACC matchup, and that game is September 20th, this Friday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And a big time thanks to everybody that's been with us here in the Fantasy Football Power Hour. I do want to answer your questions here, so I'm going to answer them really quick. Brad, I would stick with the team you got. So you said you need a running back too. You got one. You got Saquon and Jerome Ford. So I like what you got here. Brad, I would stick with it for now. So stick with your team. And thank you for watching. Hope you subscribe. And Pareko, trade Kyler Murray and Calvin Ridley for Mike Evans, Tank Dell, and Jaden Daniels in Superflex. Well, in the Superflex, can you play a quarterback at a flex? And who is your other quarterback? So that would be my question. So who is your other QB, if you have one, Pareko? I want to know that. Because if you're trading straight up Kyler for Jaden, I wouldn't do that. So tell me who you got. Big time thanks, and I'll await your answer here so I can answer your question. And big time thanks to everybody watching and listening all over the country and the world. Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Of course, we go over, especially when it comes to fantasy. So under promise, over deliver. YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT. And on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. Once the show goes live, jump into the archive, Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. And, of course, many thanks to Brooklyn Pickle down in North Carolina, right by the famous Pinehurst Golf Courses. It is there on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Make sure you go there and let them know that Wake Up Call sent you. We have a Brooklyn Pickle presentation coming to you today and tomorrow. We are giving you an all-new series on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, an extension of the show. It's called Pirates on Call, with the East Carolina Pirates joining us throughout the football season here in 2024-25. It will feature head coach Mike Houston as well as student athletes. It premieres today with the inaugural episode brought to you by Brooklyn Pickle on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. That special Pirates on Call inaugural episode with head coach Mike Houston. And tomorrow we will have starting quarterback Jake Garcia in Pirates on Call. So make sure you check it out. Pareko, you said that your quarterback is Pat Mahomes. So you want to know, do you trade Kyler and Kelvin Ridley for Mike Evans, Tank Dell, and Jaden Daniels? I mean, it's a super flex. So, yeah, I mean, Pareko, my knee jerk is do it. So I would say do it. And make sure you subscribe while you're here. Shaka said, would I trade Saquon Barkley for Ramondre Stevenson, Devontae Smith, and Evan Engram in PPR? That's a really tough question, man. I mean, if you're going to get 3 for 1, then I would say yes. I would say make the trade because of the 3 that you're getting. I like Saquon. I don't like people throwing him to the Wolves 2 weeks in, but I do like that specific trade. Shaka, make sure that you subscribe while you're here, but I do like the trade. Thanks to our incredible partners in Central and Upstate New York, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Avicoli's, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Brian's Landing, Ma and Pa's, snack capital of the world on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool. Find out what I'm talking about by going there. And for those of you fans that want to get your popcorn ready and your kettle corn ready, go to maandpazpopcorn.com. To all my fantasy people that are joining me from all over the country and the world, you can go to maandpazpopcorn.com and you can order your kettle corn, so many kettle corn flavors and popcorn flavors, and you can get a tin of your favorite NFL team. So go out there and do that today. Great Lakes, Honda City, Mother's Cupboard, Pizza Man, and reinvigorating and reimagining vending, servomation.com. Find out more information there. The Lemoyne College Dolphins are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find the Dolphins every Wednesday like today at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. You will find them on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find the Lemoyne Dolphins playlist. We are the exclusive partner of the Dolphins. Student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins alumni, all join us here where sports meets life on Wake Up Call. Find your Dolphins on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to LeMoyneDolphins.com and fins up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find the Bobcats every month in what we call the Bobcat Buzz, with men's and women's soccer, men's and women's basketball, as well as baseball and esports. You'll find it all by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe and hit the notification bell. And of course, find the BSC Syracuse playlist. You'll find the Bobcats by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bearcats every single Tuesday during Bearcat time at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We made history by talking with the men's soccer team on the bus, on the road, to a game, on game day. Never done that with a team before, quite like that. And they won the game. So shout out to the Binghamton University men's soccer team. 5 wins, 2 losses, 1 tie in their first 8 games of the season. Having themselves a tremendous season under Paul Marco. Thanks to Luke Yates for joining the show, as well as Carlo Cavallar. And of course, our Moments with Marshall features Gene Marshall, the athletics director of Binghamton University, all throughout the year on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and the Bearcat Break Room with student athletes, coaches, and administration. You can find all of our content by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find the Binghamton playlist. You'll also find the Bearcats on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to bubearcats.com and go Bearcats. With that being said, thanks to Nate Champion again, Corey Etzel, and of course the Wildcat Sports Pub, proudly presenting to you the Fantasy Football Power Hour to people all over the country and the world. God bless, and thanks to you all for tuning in. Please make sure to subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT from the Wake Up Call Studios. God bless. No stress. Do your best. Have yourself a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'll talk with you soon. Be well.